For the past 200 days, I've been reading the Bible to rice. Now you might be thinking, that's a bit of a weird thing to do. Whatever gave you that idea? Well, it all started when I saw this video about an experiment done back in the 90s by a Japanese scientist named Masaru Emoto. He believed that certain energy created vibrations that could affect the physical world depending on whether it came from a positive or negative source. To demonstrate this, he would take different containers of water, and for some he would speak nice positive things too, and for other mean negative things. Then he would freeze droplets and see what the resulting snowflake crystals would look like. The ones that had negative things spoken to them came out ugly and malformed, while the positive ones came out beautiful and symmetric. Now certain scientists in the community refuted his claims and said there were problems with his experiment and nothing could be proven. But this prompted YouTuber Emil R to try an experiment of his own, and instead of using water drops, he tried it with rice cooked with water. He made one jar of rice labeled love, one labeled hate, and one he kept as a control and labeled ignore. For the next 2 months, he would speak to the jars and then at the end checked out the results. So this is where my idea came from. But instead of just saying nice things like you're great or keep up the good work, I would replace the container of rice labeled love with one that I would read the Bible to and see if that had a similar positive effect. So here's how I did it. I started by cooking up 1 cup of plain white rice in 2 cups of water. No salt, no seasoning or anything like that, just the rice and water. After cooking for about 8 minutes, I separated 3 equal portions into 3 containers and placed the labels on top. While doing the experiment, I kept the containers in my closet and would only remove the Bible verses container once a day to read the Bible to for 1 minute and then place back. And then with the hate speech container, I would take out and say mean things to, like you are the worst, your existence is pointless, everybody hates you, and so on for 1 minute, and then place back in the closet. The ignore container was not touched or moved or lifted for the entire duration of the experiment. Here are some of the Bible verses I used over the 200 plus days. So, time for the moment of truth. It's been over 200 days since I started this experiment. I know a little how it's gone so far because I've been picking up and handling both the hate speech and Bible verse containers every day and gotten to see the changes over time. But the real test will be with the ignore. I have no idea what's going on under that lid, so let's take them out and see what's happening. I'll start with hate speech. So, we can see a little bit of discoloration right there. It's kind of a dark spot, and then on this side, big green moldy area. Pretty big spot. Continue around, we got another green spot in this corner here as well. And yeah, not looking too good for hate speech so far. Let's open it up and see how it looks on the inside. This lid was actually pretty hard to take off. It was almost like sealed in, and as soon as I opened it, the smell was pretty bad. Right off the bat, we can see another green piece in the middle there, and let's dig in. Let's see if we can find anything else. There's that big spot in the corner that's all green. Another one on the edge there. Bit of grayish brown discoloration mixed in with those green spots. Next, let's check out the Bible verses container. So, got a little brown spot right there. Checking around. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Kind of a little brown spot on the side there as well. No big green spots or anything like that. Now let's take a look inside. Let's get this lid off. This also didn't smell super great when I opened it either. I mean, over 200-day-old rice is not ideal. But there we can see that little brown spot. But other than that, nothing's really jumping out. Let's dig in, see what else we can find. Looking pretty good so far. No real moldy green spots or anything like that. Nothing disastrous. Not horrible at all. Much better than what was going on in the hate speech container. Yeah, I'm pretty much all clear. And keep in mind, it's been over 200 days since this was all cooked up, and it only had those 2 little brown spots, so that's doing very well. And finally, the ignore container. So this one, I really had no idea of what it was going to look like. It was a big question on whether this would be better than the ones that I was speaking to, or even worse than the ones I was speaking to, whether the speech was the factor or if what I was actually saying was the factor. So let's check it out. There is a little bit of mold there in the corner, and oh yeah, you can see on the bottom it's green. Turn it around, big moldy spot, big kind of white fuzzy mold. Hadn't really seen that in the hate speech container. And then a little darker towards the bottom. Yeah, that's kind of gross. Little discoloration on the side there, and then some more dark spots at the bottom. Alright, next let's get this thing opened up. Similar to the other ones, wasn't a great smell. And oh yeah, big moldy spot in the middle there too. That's kind of brown. And then you see more of that fuzz on the edge there. Let's dig in. Got that dark spot on the bottom. There's that little moldy spot in the middle. It's kind of chunky. Not as bad as the hate speech, which is ideally, if we're doing the experiment correctly, is how it's supposed to turn out, I think. But still worse than the Bible verse container. So in the middle there, we got some green stuff at the bottom. All around, not very appetizing looking. So this turned out to be pretty incredible. Maybe Mr. Emoto wasn't a crackpot scientist after all. And there's quite a bit we can learn from this experiment. There's that famous expression, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But perhaps that's not as true as it might seem. Yes, it's good to ignore the haters and carry on with a positive attitude, but constant negativity can wreak havoc in our lives. Our words matter, and we can use them to build up others or tear them down. More importantly, we now have proof of a remedy to that negativity, the Bible. The Bible is God's word given to us to bring love, hope, peace, and ultimately positivity to our lives. Just spending a little time every day to read some verses can make a massive difference, not only individually, but to what we can spread and share with those around us as well. We weren't created to be alone and ignored. Such a cool revelation. Thanks for watching, and I encourage you to try out the experiment for yourself.